Do you want better relationships at work and at home?
Then we've got the insights to make it happen.
I'm Larry.
And I'm Dax, and this is EnRich Relationships Part 2.
Practical skills to lead, connect, and grow. In previous podcasts, we've talked about looking for ways to build other people. And part of that is so that we can develop courageous kindness. And so for this episode, I'd like to explain that just a little bit deeper. When we build a relationship, or as we start with either our family or with those that we manage, it allows us to develop that relationship so that we can discuss difficult topics. And we do that because we love the person, we care about the person, we want them to be able to perform at their very best. And so speaking up is going to take bravery, it's going to take courage, but at the same time, it requires kindness, because if we don't do it with kindness, then most likely the person's either not going to listen to what we have to say, they're not going to feel that what we're doing has anything to help them or is anything in their self-interest, that basically we're just trying to manipulate or get things done our way. So it's kind of a process built on trust, and again, trust allowing us then to have those difficult conversations and to build that courageous kindness with those that we work with. That happens both in our work, it also happens in our family, with our own children, as they know that we truly care about them and we love them. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it'd be easier not to say anything and just let them learn on their own. But at the same time, if we can see or we know that what's going to happen is really going to hurt them, then we have to be able to be courageously kind and explain to them. Whether they choose to follow or not, that's still up to them. Same with our employees. But at least we've said it, and the way that we've said it, more important, is in a way that if they do make that mistake or if they go down that path, they know that we're still there, not to be an I told you so, but to be there to support them and just say, hey, whatever I can do to help you, because I think you're amazing. I think your ability is incredible. I trust you. At the same time, there's some things that I want to help you to be successful, and I'm always there for you.
One of Brene Brown's most famous quotes is, "Clear is kind and unclear is unkind." And I think that just relates really well to what you just talked about, where if we do care about that person, it means we're being very clear. It means we're setting expectations. We're telling them the consequences of their actions. We're telling them why it was wrong that they may have chose something or acted in a specific way. Even if it feels uncomfortable, clear is kind. And if we're unclear, if we muddy the waters, maybe we mask it by downplaying it, saying it's not a big deal, or brushing it under the rug and saying, I can talk about it later. I don't really want to offend them. That's where we cause more problems. It ties well into Kim Scott's radical candor theory. It's a book that she also wrote. And in it, she talks about two quadrants of challenging directly and caring personally. We're going to create a matrix there. The two quadrants are ruinous empathy, when someone cares so much but they're too afraid to challenge that it actually destroys the relationship, because, well, you're not intervening when you should, you're not helping them, and they go down the wrong path. And child makes a serious mistake that has long-term consequences. An employee fails and doesn't hit that promotion point or doesn't get that annual review rating they've been working hard towards, because you had ruinous empathy. You didn't want to challenge them. You were afraid of how they might react. You thought you cared so much that you just didn't say anything, and it turned ruinous, hence ruinous empathy. And the other quadrant being obnoxious aggression, where many people just challenge too much without that caring personally. And in my real life, and thinking about the great people I've worked with, I find there's much more of the ruinous empathy than there is the obnoxious aggression. Usually because people have had that one boss or that one leader who was just so obnoxious, who was awful to work with. All they did was challenge and never uplifted. And so they say to themselves, well, I want to be someone who cares. And they flip it 180, where instead of challenging at all, they only care personally. And you see, we move from this obnoxious aggression to the ruinous empathy, which are two polar opposite ends. The trick is right there in the middle. It's that courageous kindness, or as Kim calls it, radical candor, where you balance being clear and kind. You balance being courageous and kind. You balance caring with challenging. And time in and time again, those are the leaders who make change. Those are the leaders who inspire people to be greater. Those are the parents who help their kids make long-lasting change and realize that they can do things better are those leaders, those people who really master the ability to be courageously kind.
I sometimes wonder, in listening to what you have to say, that caring kind of fits sometimes, or we see that in our family dynamic, where the challenging kind of fits in the work environment. And so maybe looking at ways to blend that. I think about, for example, one-on-ones. When we get to know our employees, part of that care is to get to know their family, like get to know who are the people important in their lives, get to know when their birthdays are, even though this may at first seem like, why would you do that? That kind of sets that family, that caring for our teams. And as we do that, then I think it's easier to then get into the challenge, because we've got the trust there. They know where we're coming from, and we care enough to ask those kind of questions about them or get to know them that well, that then we can stretch them just like we would with our kids. Our kids know, hopefully they know that we care about them and we love them. But at the same time, there may be things where it's like, you know what, you really have the ability to do this, and I know you may not feel it, or you may feel like you need some encouragement. Well, I got all the faith in the world that you can do it. So it's a blend of the two.
It makes me think of an inspired one-on-one I had with a manager 7 years ago. It was a long time ago, but the manager did exactly that. They knew my family situation well enough, and they cared about me well enough that they said, what does providing for your wife and, at the time, future kids look like? That was the question he asked me, and it was a profound question because it had me think, okay, well, what does it mean to me to be a provider? Well, it means that, in my situation, my wife doesn't have to work. It means that I can bring in enough money so she doesn't have to go to work. And as I told him that, he said, are you currently in a position where you can do that long term? I had to say, probably not. And so then he was able to challenge me and say, what do you need to do to be the provider that you want, or you believe you should be or want to be? And it's such a great question because, like you said, it was personally motivating to me. It wasn't just, how much of a raise do you want to get? Or do you want to be a top-rated employee? Those are nice, but what he really asked of me and challenged me to do was think deeply about what it is I wanted. And he only knew that because he knew my family. He knew I wanted to have kids. He knew I cared about being a provider. And so, to your point, a great leader will ask questions that might seem out of line. I mean, what kind of an employer is asking you how you're providing for your family? It feels like it's overstepping, but really it's not. As long as you've built that connection, you've built that relationship, and you show that you genuinely care, you want that employee to achieve greatness. So again, it's that balance of care personally, challenge directly.
So hopefully this episode will encourage bravery and especially courageous kindness. Thank you for tuning into today's episode, and be sure to check out our other episodes where we explore additional ways to enrich your relationships at work and with your family.
Before you take off, we invite you to subscribe and share what you liked from this episode with friends, colleagues, and family. Take a moment and share feedback and suggestions with us directly at EnRich Relationships Podcast @gmail.com.
Lasting change comes from enriching your relationships both at work and at home.